Young Turks Elections 2014.
Hello and welcome to the Young Turks Election Special. I'm Shireen Bhan. Election 2014 will see almost 12 crore first-time voters exercise their franchise, and Young India certainly seems to be making its presence felt online. Several young entrepreneurs are not just taking their votes seriously, but are also working to create awareness, provide information and create tools to make India a participative democracy. Our first guest on the show is 23-year-old Dhruv Sarin, who launched Know Your Vote in 2010. It's a not-for-profit, and Know Your Vote focuses on educating the youth to make informed decisions, spread political awareness and demand accountability from the government. Having reached out to over 1 lakh individuals through social media platforms and campaigns, this largely self-funded venture has already won awards for its unique business model and received a seed funding grant from the Ashoka Foundation. Let's take a look at the Know Your Vote story. Drawing inspiration from the Barack Obama-John McCain election in the US in 2008 and the massive youth involvement scene, Dhruv Sarin, then a student at American University in Washington, D.C., hoped to bring the same level of participation to India. And so he launched Know Your Vote in 2010. While the initial idea was to create an online database with information on candidates running for election, Dhruv and his team, on studying the Indian market, realized that there was already a lot of information available online. And so the team decided that Know Your Vote should tackle the problem of voter apathy with the long-term objective of getting people interested and involved in politics. The slogan today is simple: make noise, be heard. Know Your Vote today has a 20-member team and has over 1 lakh members on the Facebook page. This page functions as a single platform for information on political parties and political events. The team eventually plans to set up Know Your Vote chapters in colleges and schools, first across Mumbai and then nationwide.
It's completely student-run chapters, right? So it's basically you'll have a group of students that will form a chapter at a college. They will then be responsible for running the chapter for a year, and then they'll transfer it on to the next batch. So they'll run everything from spreading awareness about the initiative to recruiting new members. As a part of that, we also have 2 additional verticals, which is the leadership development programs we talked about, where we bring in outside experts, we'll develop a curriculum, we'll work with them to make sure their members are getting this leadership development program and curriculum delivered to them. We also want to tie in a mentorship program, idea being that how do you engage the young professionals who just graduated college and are now working full-time. Our last proposal, which we're still working on, we're not fully decided on whether we're going to implement it or not, is we're looking at developing an online portal which will have information on candidates, and as well as ranking candidates, helping people find their voter booths, things like that, which are the issues that people are struggling with right now. We'd want to have an online platform which is obviously then backed up with a mobile app as well as IVR support, since a lot of people in there do not currently have access to smartphones as well, and we do want to keep that in mind.
Dhruv believes the chapter model will facilitate peer-to-peer outreach while being able to provide locally relevant information. For the ongoing general elections, Know Your Vote has come up with a campaign called Election Matters. The venture is tied up with restaurants across Mumbai and Bangalore, where table mats are filled with interactive puzzles, crosswords and mazes. The aim is to get people up to speed with issues of concern and get them excited about voting. Dhruv claims this also gives the team a sense of what's driving people's behavior.
So for this general election, in addition to our social media campaigns, our main focus has been the Election Matters campaign, which is where we're presenting these interactive mats at restaurants across Mumbai and Bangalore to get people thinking about the election whenever they go to dine out. And then at the end of the campaign, the participating restaurants will have a 5 to 10% discount depending on the venue, or other similar incentives for people who have the mark and have voted as well to incentivize them. Other than that, we ran a workshop called Art for Democracy, where we basically taught people about the importance of voting, why they should vote, and then had them represent their views of democracy through art. So I mean, if you look behind me, you can see some of the art on the wall as well, which was a direct result of that workshop. Another thing we're looking at doing right after the election as like a feedback loop is to actually go talk to people, see have these mini sessions, understand what's driving voting behavior to help us position ourselves better for the next upcoming election.
Largely self-funded, Know Your Vote received a seed funding grant from the Ashoka Foundation and the American University Honours Program. The bigger goal now is to tie up with at least 6 colleges by the end of the year and grow to 100 chapters in 4 years. Dhruv is also working on creating a sustainable revenue model for the venture.
We do have a highly targeted user base, and it also happens to be the base marketers targets the most because it's the 18 to 25 age group of young individuals, generally with higher disposable income than in the past. So we're looking at leveraging that in 2 ways. One is to basically get market data and opinion data from them, whether it's through surveys or just understanding what they want and then packaging that into marketing reports and selling that. It would again be completely anonymous, aggregated data, so we wouldn't particularly be saying anything in particular, but it would be generalized data on what the youth wants and what the youth is looking for. This data can be used both for marketing purposes as well as given back to politicians so they can understand what the youth is looking for as well and target their campaigns better. Another thing we're looking at is partnering with retailers similar to our Election Matters campaign to basically get our members discount cards where if they use them at certain retailers they'll get a fixed percentage off or they'll get a special offer. We have also dabbled with the idea of charging for being a member of Know Your Vote, but at the end of the day we do want to be a movement, and we think that by putting a monetary limit on it we don't want to limit how many people are willing to join and participate. So for now we're straying away from that, but that is a backup plan if the other ideas don't pan out.
Dhruv here wishing you and Know Your Vote the very best of luck. More power to you. Next up, it is time to revisit our Young Turks. Uber. Launched by Silicon Valley maverick Travis Kalanick, Uber's app has become quite the rage in the high-end radio cab market. This week, Uber went live in Mumbai and did so with style, offering free rides to senior citizens to help them cast their vote, just as they did in Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai and Hyderabad. So we decided to catch up with Penn, the head of Uber's Asia Pacific Operations, and Jambu Palaniappan, the head of Uber's India and Emerging Market Operations, to get a handle on the road ahead. Uber, San Francisco headquartered venture, does not own the cars that are part of its taxi service. Simply uses technology to connect drivers with passengers through a free mobile app that can be downloaded on Apple and Android platforms. Offering rental bookings for high-end cars like a Mercedes, BMW, Audi and Toyota, driven by well-trained drivers, Uber is learning quickly that the price proposition is key to success in the Indian market. And so, it's cut prices by between 15 to 20%. Having launched in Mumbai this week, its 5th city in the country, we asked Penn, head of Uber's APAC Operations, what's making them bet big on India.
Initially, it was a lot of the dynamics that we saw from a supply and demand perspective. So on the demand side, we felt like our value proposition would be strong here. That is, that people would be very interested in a product that allowed them to reliably, conveniently get a ride. And conversely, on the supply side of the equation, because again with Uber we really set up this marketplace matching supply and demand on our platform. We don't own the cars, we just act as that technology platform to connect riders and drivers. We saw that drivers here in India, there's an opportunity for them to really increase their earnings by fulfilling more of their downtime. And so those opportunities on both sides of the marketplace really made us feel like this would be a great market for us. And as we stepped into the market first in September with Bangalore, and then into Delhi, into Hyderabad, into Chennai, and finally here into Mumbai, we just continued to see that reinforced. We've seen each city in India grow faster than the one before it, capped off here by Mumbai, which is actually the fastest growing city that we've seen in Asia.
Payments for an Uber service are automatic and the registered credit card is charged at the end of the ride. In just 3 years since launch, this mobile app has made luxury rides possible in 100 cities across 35 countries around the globe and has raised over $307 million in funding from the likes of Google Ventures, TPG Capital and Goldman Sachs. But how does Uber maintain its quality and consistency of service given the fact that the service is actually outsourced?
The way we think about quality is really around user experience, and so the most accurate way for us to measure that is with feedback. So after every trip that a customer takes, they're able to provide a rating of the driver on a 5-star scale and comments to help us improve. And so that feedback allows us to better understand who's a good driver, but also who needs some improvement and on what specific areas. We're able to give really directed coaching and targeting to help quality improve and consistency rise, and reward the best drivers as well for their performance. That's something that we've been able to implement in every city we've gone into globally, and has worked very well for us in India so far.
And while Jambu was tight-lipped about where Uber would launch next, a quick look at the career section on Uber's website throws up Pune and Kolkata as the cities where Uber is recruiting. So if 2 + 2 makes 4, then you have the answers. Well, we do hope you used Uber's free rides to get yourself to a polling booth and cast your vote. On that note, it's time for a break. But when we return, we get you all the action from Thai Delhi NCR's India Internet Day, where elections were top of mind.
Young Turks Elections 2014.